Hey everyone, hope you guys are enjoying your experience on Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak on either your Nintendo Switch or on PC, and very soon you'll also be able to play it on PlayStation and Xbox consoles as well. And today we're going to be checking out the second of the trio of set of videos that I've been putting together, where we are going to be discussing everything that has been essentially found in the game's files regarding the third free title update. Just yesterday I went over pretty much every single event quest that we have available that is going to be dropping in the upcoming weeks as we make our ways through December, January, and even potentially February as well. And of course, many of those quests are going to provide us with brand new armor sets. So in this video, I want to try to introduce you to each one of those armor sets, showcase essentially where they came from, what game first they appeared in, and more importantly, if they are going to have stats or simply layered versions as well. If you watched yesterday's video where I spoke about all the quests, you should already know which quests are going to provide us armor sets, but if you didn't necessarily catch that video, I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below. And one of the very first things you should probably know is that these armors come directly from Monster Hunter Frontiers G and Monster Hunter Frontiers Z. These were of course the Japanese only, most likely, unless you're actually finding ways around it to be able to play worldwide, available just in Japan. These games were simply just not available worldwide in English at the very least for most players, so most of us never really got our hands to be able to play these games or be able to check out these armors. The third armor, however, is originally from, I believe, Generations Ultimate, but it was also seen in Monster Hunter World as well. So with all that table setting out of the way, let's get started. So first and foremost, I want to introduce you guys to the Shui armor set. This armor set was originally available in Monster Hunter Frontiers. It has something of a Chinese, Asian type Indonesian look to it. There were originally two versions added into Monster Hunter Frontiers G. There was the version that we are going to get here in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, but of course you can change the armor palette colors, so you most likely will be able to adjust it to make it look like the other alternate version. The original version had this red and black contrast with yellow atonements all around it. It even came with like original hairstyles as well. So it was a really interesting armor set that simply just wasn't available before. The other armor set alternate version of it was a white, a blue, a light blue, light darker blue, and a yellow versions as well. Now originally I did look around if there was actually an armor like with stats version of this specific armor set, the Shui armor set, and the Shui G, which is actually what the blue one, the white and blue one is called, but I couldn't necessarily find one. All of this information obviously is in Japanese. It was kind of hard for me to be able to actually lock down if there was a stats version of this armor set. So I'm going to presume that there was just a layered version of it, but most likely there was a stats version of it, but I just simply wasn't able to find it. So essentially this armor set is going to be one of the brand new armors being added in Sunbreak as part of the brand new wave of event quests. And personally, I do like the look of it, and of course for you to be able to go ahead and change the colors around, it's going to be interesting, an interesting look for you to be able to go ahead and adjust and be able to see what you can come up with. Now, one of the things that you would have already noticed in one of the screenshots where they actually covered the announcement of the armor being introduced as the event took place from late 2017 to early 2018 was the fact that they introduced plushy looking weapons as well for that specific update in Monster Hunter Frontiers G. And this is something that has become a little bit of a controversy right now with, of course, once again, the layered weapon options. I'm going to make a separate video where I'm going to be discussing that as well, but this is pretty much a little bit of a teaser as we are going to be talking about that in a later video. Now moving over to the other armor set that they decided to introduce, this one is called the Dusk armor set, or the Dusk trio, or the Dusk kit. There's different variations in the naming of it. The male looks a little bit urban, if you will. The female hunter of course has cat ears, or something akin to cat ears, so that one is of course going to be very popular for a lot of players. There's multiple screenshots that you should be seeing rotate right then and there. This armor was introduced for Frontiers G, and there was an actual stats version of this specific armor set. When it came to skills, the Dusk GP Swordman version had compensation, flash, flame, so that would be lightning, and plus fire attack, absolute defense, and painful attack. Remember that some of those original skills from Frontiers G and Frontiers Z have been completely reworked. So of course some of them don't necessarily are suitable anymore than they were back then. Also, they do mention that it had a world protection as well. So that was a resistance skill back then. That was for the swords armor of the armor set. The gunner version had compensation, lightning damage, flame damage, absolute defense, better equipment, I believe is what it is, and better resistances as well. There's different skills for that as well. So that is ultimately what you ended up having. Absolute defense, red flame mastery +2, compensation, and plus lightning attack +2. So that was the gunner version of it. And of course, there was the layered version as well. So these armors back then had multiple uses in the same way that they do now. So this one, I believe, was introduced from Frontiers Z. This was introduced after the original armor that we just spoke about, the Shui armor set. So this one was probably towards the later end of that specific game. I will also mention that there were a sword and shield also attached to this armor set. There was a gold. I couldn't actually find the name of the sword and shield. There was a gold, yellowish, goldish looking one, and a light blue one as well. They came out at the same time. They were kind of like part of the same set. I don't necessarily know if the sword and shield was part originally of the specific armor set, but you definitely obtained it separately from it. But they were both introduced at around the same time. So I thought it was kind of worth mentioning as well. So certainly it does seem like this armor set is going to be probably a popular one. And the Dusk armor set is going to be definitely one of those that is popular with female hunters in the game. And of course, lastly, the last armor set that they decided to showcase was one that you most likely have seen if you played back in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, or if you actually played in Monster Hunter World. I believe this was one of the early armors you could get in Monster Hunter World, and that was the Archean Layered Armor Archean Armor set. There was, of course, a normal version of it, a Master Rank version of it as well. I believe it was called Archean Alpha, then Archean Beta, and Beta Plus, Alpha Plus. Of course, they had those different monikers as well. When it came to the Alpha version of it, I believe it came with Ancient Divinity, Slinger Capacity. Remember, that skill was only specific for World. Critical Eye, Peak Performance, Free Elemental, Free Ammo Up, Tool Specialist, and Slinger Capacity. So, you know, that was pretty much one of those armor that was a little bit of a tool for a lot of different versions of it. The beta version came with Ancient Divinity, Slinger Capacity, Free Elemental Ammo Up, Critical Eye, Peak Performance, and Tool Specialist once again. Some Critical Eye there as well. So that was the different Master Rank version of it. Now, the interesting thing is about this armor set is that it starts to kind of like pave the way, if you will, for Namielle into Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. The reason why I say that is because there was, of course, an event quest version of this armor set for the Archean Layered armor version of it, which required a Namielle ticket. Namielle specifically, there was an event quest for it called the Distinct Dark Tide. In this event quest, you would hunt an Arch-Temper Namielle in the Coral Highlands, and of course, it would go ahead and drop a Namielle ticket. You would actually end up using that Namielle ticket with some ancient fragments, Spit Vein Slog Bones, and Daybreak Crystals to be able to go ahead and obtain the layered version of this Archean armor set. So, you know, for those people who keep saying Namielle makes no sense making its way into Sunbreak, well, we have now a direct connection for this armor set making its way into the game, as, you know, it had one of the requirements to be able to obtain the layered version of it was the fact that you needed to hunt Namielle. Now, to be fair, and of course, the Generations Ultimate version of this armor set, the Archean X armor version of it, it came with Thunder Attack, Resistance, and Speed Up, or if you will, Trap Master. So, you know, of course, the skills were very different back then. So, you know, it was just a different armor set altogether. They completely reworked it for World and Iceborne, but of course, it still remains the same that, you know, visually, it is a rather appealing looking armor if you're interested in that metallic look. So once again, I'll remind you guys, if you don't necessarily know, we don't have any direct confirmation that there will be an actual like armor version of it, or they will be layered armors only. In the presentation itself, they mention equipment. They don't actually say the word armor sets. So maybe that is the way that they're gonna play around with the words, so people don't necessarily expect there to be a full armor set version of this armor, and we just end up getting a layered version of it. But that's about all the information that I wanted to cover with you guys today. I took a little bit of time to kind of like put this together, make sure properly present and introduce the 3 brand new layered armor sets or full-on armor sets that we are going to be able to get into Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak's 3rd free title update. If you are brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.